Happy Halloween, fiends. Welcome to the Midnight Chamber. And for this first inaugural Halloween, we're doing a classic. I mean, what better? We're talking about the Misfits, Walk Among Us. Walk Among Us. Classic, seminal record. Not just in horror punk, granddaddy of horror punk for that matter, but classic in the sense of just punk rock in general. New York hardcore, you know, I mean, the Misfits were a 77 punk band. We all love them, we know them. I mean, Jerry, Glenn, Doyle, they're all still staples of our fucking favorite styles of music. So, what can be said about Walk Among Us that has not already been said 50 million times over? Now, let me first get off the bat. I've got a shitload of Misfit stuff, but I refuse to spend the money on this stupid, crazy, high dollar collecting. Like this is just a 2009 Rhino reissue of Walk Among Us on vinyl. And it's black. It's not even one of the fancy colors. Like Earache just is reissuing it on a shitload of different colors. The 80s colors, like the original pressings, were on a whole bunch of different colors. Like the main records, Walk Among Us, Static Age. Even Static Age has like one pressing in the 90s, but on a couple of different color variants. And then the million fucking copies of Earth AD and Wolf's Blood. The only legit OG 80s copy of Earth Blood or Earth AD I have is the German Wolf's Blood copy, but different video. Won't get too sidetracked. But Walk Among Us. This album is literally classic after classic. For anyone who's a Misfits fanatic like me, like a lot of people in horror punk, there's not a bad song really in the Misfits catalog. Yeah, sure, there are going to be the occasional tune that someone may not favor, but there's not really a bad song. And especially on this record, 20 Eyes, I Turned Into a Martian, All Hell Breaks Loose, Vampira, Nike Go-Go, Hate Breeders, Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight, the live version, Night of the Living Dead, Skulls, Violent World, Devil's Whorehouse, Astro Zombies, and Brain Eaters. And really, you could probably debate the Brain Eaters as the clunker on this, but it's still a super fun song. And one thing you can tell about the different vinyl versions would be the color, this pink up here is purple on earlier pressings. And before I get into like lots of stories, put that down, the one like original pressing I have of this from the 80s is the cassette version. The cassette version is dope. And this CD version, which is just a 1996 or 2000 edition. Here, I got my notes here, which edition I have. Yeah, this is a 1996 pressing. It's partial to me because it's my original that I got when I was 16. The cassette I got a few years later, but the cassette was the first version I ever heard. So my history with this record, when I was 16, of course all my friends were into punk, just everyone was into different stuff. At that time, I was listening to the Ramones and the Simmons pretty heavily. And I remember I was going somewhere out into the county with a friend to another friend's house. And it was like a band practice kind of deal. On our way out, he pulls my Ramones tape out and throws in Walk Among Us. I had no idea what the fuck it was. He was like just straight like exploited style punk. Like he had the huge red spiked mohawk and logging chain and all kinds of crazy shit like that. So I didn't know what to expect. It wasn't like they mass-produced horror punk. Well, mass-produced is a misnomer. But it's not like you could find someone into horror punk and be like, okay, this is going to be sci-fi and horror related. It's going to be, all sing-song. No, I didn't know what the hell it was. But we listened to it, and it got clogged in my brain and just rotated in there. That was where I first heard this cassette. And that was actually the reason I picked up the cassette version, which you can get at reasonable prices, because it was like the first stuff I had ever heard. I absolutely just love this record. It's not my favorite Misfits record though. That privilege goes to Static Age. Static Age is a killer fucking record. But let's get into some history behind this release. So some of the songs predate the '82 release by years and years and years. A few of them go all the way back into the '70s, but a fair few of them. In mid '81 would be when they did the infamous cave photo shoot that you can see all over the inserts. So 81, 82, early 82, Danzig took all those tracks out, all those songs that would become Walk Among Us, out to LA for mixing. And, in early 82 was when Walk Among Us was released by Ruby Slash, which, the really old versions of this when you see that fist down in the corner. Yeah. That's the Ruby record logo. Of course you can see there, Ruby Records. And it's just a classic release. And I used to have a game going to horror punk shows. I mean, be it Blitzkid, be it Jackalopes, be it Reanimated, be it whoever, even the Lurking Corpses. Used to go to shows, and I would have a game where I would try to guess how many Misfits covers you were going to hear a night. In fact, there are some bands that started off Misfits cover bands. Plan 9 out in California. Devil's Whorehouse from Sweden. The Crimson Ghosts, not the German Crimson Ghosts, but the ones from Maine, the surf band Crimson Ghosts. They do Misfits covers. Walk Among Us. Walk Among Us, for the three-piece, I believe they're a three-piece. The two girls and a guy who do like acoustic-y Misfits covers out of Chicago. Fucking killer. The record permeates through so much of everything we love. And it's perfect Halloween music, but you can argue that Samhain is even better. There are a lot of people that only pull Samhain out during this time of year. I'll listen to Samhain all year, but this is definitely the perfect time of year to listen to Samhain. So, Danzig just knocked a lot of these songs out of the park. A few of them, you can hear on various singles like Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. And some of them made later releases, like Mommy ended up on the Die Die 12-inch, so on and so forth. But this collection of songs is fantastic. The album is just iconic. I don't know. If I were to have to pick a favorite, which is definitely splitting hairs here, it's going to be either All Hell Breaks Loose, Nike A Go-Go, or Night of the Living Dead. And believe me that my favorite Misfits songs change with the damn wind. it's such a good record. And I mean, the whole thing, and this is something, this was all in-house. I mean, it was produced by the Misfits, which really was probably mostly produced by Glenn. The artwork by the Misfits. And it's almost my favorite lineup. Okay, so they credit Doyle on this, but I find it hilarious about at least this 96 CD version, the screwiness of it. So they credit Danzig, Jerry Only, Doyle, and Googie on drums, but the picture, if you can see that, is an iconic picture of Glenn, Jerry, Googie, and Bobby Steele. And if you didn't know any better, there are some people who just don't know the in-depth, ridiculous lineup changes of this band, especially in the 77 to 83 years. But now everyone knows what Doyle looks like. Doyle's a goddamn monster. Fucking guy is huge. But that is definitely Bobby Steele in there, because Bobby's about the size of my damn leg. And I believe at one point Bobby had started working on the songs for this, but man, you get a varying story of why he got kicked out of the band. I mean, it's everything from he was on drugs, which also wouldn't surprise me, all the way down the line to Jerry wanted Doyle in the band and pulled some fucking hostile takeover shit and just screwed Bobby Steele out of everything. It's so much drama, and it's so amusing to watch. Hell, there's still drama. Look at the Misfits reunion shows that have been going on. I believe Doyle said all three of them have different, by three, the three main guys, they all have different dressing rooms, which means there's probably 4 dressing rooms for, AC Slade, and I'm sure, AC Slade and Dave Lombardo, I'm sure they have their own dressing room. I doubt they have a problem with each other. But Glenn, Jerry, and Doyle all have their own dressing rooms. Because, of course, why not have all kinds of fucking drama? You want to get really into this. They duplicated this minus this is the repress color. The internal sleeve is pretty on point. All the lyrics, which, if you've seen the lyric books, Glenn might have published some of the lyrics that were already published in some of those lyric books, which is irritating. Because everybody wanted lyrics that weren't already published. Like in the newest lyric book, he put Halloween in there. Fuck, we know what the lyrics to Halloween are. I don't need to see them in a damn book. Give me some lyrics that were never published, like the rest of Earth AD. And here's the other side with lots of sweet pictures. And like I say, this is just on black wax with that nice ruby center labels. So if I really had to tell you what Walk Among Us means to me, it was really next to Evil Live, which was the first release I ever got. I actually bought myself. It was a gateway into monster music, into spooky horror rock, and this style of horror punk, horror rock, monster music. It was my gateway. I listened to this album incessantly. I still listen to this album incessantly. Well, maybe not incessantly. There's a lot of stuff to listen to. But you get the gist. It's fuel for the fire. mean, this would Walk Among Us next to Static Age would probably be if I had to pick 10 records to take onto a desert island, you know, the infamous desert island question, I would take Walk Among Us and Static Age. It would probably be a twofer. Or I'd most likely take one of the collection discs out of the box set because you get like 85 bazillion songs on one fucking disc. But the recording quality on those is shitty because Glenn loved to re-record things, and I can't even imagine how much money that man wasted just re-recording everything. But he got some good mixes on this record. And a lot of bands have tried to emulate that sound. I mean, look at Calabrese, their very first full length. They went in and they were like, we want to sound like Misfits. And most engineers know that's because they had really shitty equipment. But I feel that those old recordings, even with the shitty equipment, have a real, it's not even nostalgia, they have a timeless feel, because I think we've gotten used to the way they sound and how they were mixed. And you can do a lot with reverb, and I feel like Glenn was a master of using reverb on a lot of those early records, because when you have shit sound, you've got a lot of bleed over in your mixes, then you can do a lot with you know, you can cover a lot up with distortion and reverb. I mean, you really can. And he became a master at that, and that's where you get a lot of those amazing recordings on this. Sure, it's not the high fidelity craziness you get in some band stuff, and it is nowhere even in the ballpark of even, you know, the early UK stuff like The Damned. But it's still amazing. It's at this point timeless, because I feel like if you're into, well, I guess we're starting to get to the point where people can get into horror rock through the other bigger bands. You know, your Michael Graves, your Wednesday 13s, your Blitz Kids and Argyle Goolsbys, your Calabrese. I mean, there might come a time in a few years where people don't hear the Misfits first. I think it's going to be a long while, but hey, what can you say? It's the Misfits. They are our heart and soul. They are the backbone, the originators of modern horror rock, and we love them for that. And that's why you're going to hear Misfits covers just about everywhere. It's like pogo punk. You know, you're always going to hear pogo punk bands just rip on and love the Ramones and bands like that, mostly the Ramones. Fuck, I love the Ramones. The Ramones are one of my first punk bands, period. So, you know, for Halloween, we're going to listen to some Misfits. I may not play any in this video, but, you know, they're not one of those bands that I can generally get a hold of, but you know what the Misfits sound like. I'll put links down below, and you can, you know, check out any of these songs. I'll try to find the Brain Eaters video, because the only music video that band ever cut was for Brain Eaters, and it's fucking awesome. I'm going to put that down in the description. And tell me what you think about Walk Among Us. Tell me your memories about Walk Among Us. And I'm going to see you next time on the Midnight Chamber.